Thank you.
All right. I call to order the Emergency Services Facilities Building Committee meeting 22 January 2025. Call to order is at 26, sorry, is at 6:37. Members present are Marco, Tulis, Snyder, Jankowski, Kelleher, Dantic, Millix, and Cobb. Approval of minutes for January 8th, 2026. Second. Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? We have an excellent recording person.
Thank you.
Second to none. Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving the minutes of January 8th, 2026. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions?
Abstention.
Abstain, all right, we have one abstention.
I make a motion to add to the agenda, their new business, the proposal and vote.
I second.
Should be fine.
I second. Motion's been made to add on the a proposal from CERCOG and that Mike just handed out. I know it's true, but I emailed it earlier, but you might be seeing it for the first time. Motion was made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, let's go ahead and under new business. Very good. What?
That's why you're leaving.
I see it. I appreciate that. It's very helpful. Okay, present to speak. Andy, if you don't mind. Yes. One. Oh, right there. All right.
There is.
All right, present to speak. Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak? Is there anybody online that would like to speak? Okay. Very good. New business, proposal and quote for Station 13 rehabilitation. Was Mike gonna say something? What is Mike? I don't know.
Yeah,
There you are. Was he just here?
Yeah, I could introduce it if you want.
Go ahead.
So brief recap, after attending the CCM conference, as I've noted before, I became aware of a program that is offered through CROG, the Capital Region Council of Governments, to assist CROG member towns with creating essentially a task list or scope of work for public projects and getting pricing. It is a pre-bid purchasing system, so it works similar to something like Sourcewell, wherein it's already been bid out and the people involved have promised certain price structures, and so you can use it in place of trying to get 3 bids, and so it is a faster way to move from idea to pricing, particularly because they help you define the scope. So I decided to give it a test since there was no commitment and see what they could do about some of the ideas we have been talking about the firehouse. And of course, in my new role as first selectman, I am even more keenly aware of the conditions our employees are in, and feeling the sense that we needed to motivate some ideas, get some new ideas in front of this group and potentially in front of the town. So Chief Moore, Tyler, and I met with the representative from Gordian, which is the procurement side, and they help with the job specking, and Millennium Builders, which is their awarded contractor. We went over some ideas. They came back with a floor plan, which is the floor plan that you have in the packet that I made and probably in the same packet that Ralph made also. And that floor plan has already been modified a little bit. We had a Zoom meeting the other day with them because there were a couple of things in there that weren't conducive and also weren't necessary. So tomorrow we're expecting a modified floor plan, but the scope of work and the pricing should be fairly close. Definitely close enough for us to have some discussions about if this is a viable direction to go to make that building mold-free, functional, and give a place to house the EMTs, an ambulance crew that's not in a camper trailer, and that we could move fairly quickly on, because as we all know, the larger capital process that we're discussing as an overall goal is there's no way that's going to put people in a warm building by next winter. So that's kind of all of the background that gets us to where we are today. So it's an opportunity for discussion, digest what's there. I don't think we have to get necessarily into the weeds of every nut and bolt that's in the proposal, as much as the concept of using this method to solve the problem, I think, is really important to discuss. And the price and how much that the grant would potentially fund. We also had a Zoom meeting with the Department of Ag representative, and the basic read on that grant is there are many things that can be included in the grant. There are many things that are excluded from the grant. But now that it has been approved by the federal level, that $525,000 is, I hesitate to say it's ours to spend because that's not true, but that dollar amount is our dollar amount. It's set aside for us right now. The key is, can we come up with enough tasks or projects that are applicable, that are included in what that grant will allow? Chief Moore attended both of these meetings. He can speak in more detail as well. He probably may remember things I don't. The Department of Ag representative is sending us more details and did do a set of notes and recap from our meeting. I also forwarded the proposals that you have in front of you to her today and asked her to give it a look and determine what's the best way for us to figure out if or how much of this work scope is applicable to the grant. The grant has certain rules, like they don't want to do any work outside the building with the grant because the federal requirements for breaking ground are very high. So you have to start doing environmental assessments and all sorts of stuff, even if you just want to put a shovel in the ground. Her recommendation was don't do any earthwork on that grant. So we would exclude that from this particular project you're seeing in front of you, and we would procure that earthwork some other way so that we don't invoke all those other requirements, which would blow the budget right out of the, right out of whatever money we have. So short and sweet wrap up of all this is, here's something for us to talk about. It's an idea of how we can possibly move forward, provide a better environment for the employees, get that station functional. And my guess, based on the conversation with the Department of Ag, is we probably can get 100 to 200,000 of the work included in the grant. And again, I'm just guessing that by the conversation. So maybe half of this gets paid for through that grant. And then the remaining of the 525 in the grant would still be available to us if we can find other projects in the other two fire stations that she is able to prove would be relevant to the grant. But that's a little more complicated conversation down the road. So I don't know if Chief Moore wants to add anything from his notes or memory of those conversations, but that's the quick recap.
Just a couple of quick things. There was the conversation about the design work is if we did not use the full 525, we could use part of it to go towards design work for a new facility.
Correct.
The groundwork we were trying to do as much of that as we can with public works. There's nothing in this, what you have in front of you, that includes groundwork. Most of that is going to be done all outside of this, just because of the cost of it. Is to really try to do ourselves or with the help of Public Works, including getting a lot of the stuff inside of that building out of it. All of the lumber, we're gonna figure a way to do that ourselves.
Mike, are you gonna provide the committee with a list of allowable expenses on the grant versus what is allowable?
We don't actually have a list yet. That's what I've asked for help from Megan from the Department of Agriculture with. Because she did not provide us, she provided us with conversational things, but she said, well, that really is more of a problematic thing. You know, it was kind of a flowing conversation about it. And so we do not have a hard list right now,
Will
but
you get,
go ahead.
will you get one? If you sent her what Gordy sent us, will you be able to get a list, something from her that says basically, these are all the things that are covered, these are the things that are not covered?
That's exactly what I asked her to do in the email. I sent her all of this documentation you have in front of you, and I said, can you please look at it? And either if you can decipher what's applicable, or if you can tell us what we need to do to divide up the list or clarify certain scope of work. Because in the conversation we had with her, there are a lot of, like, basically anything to do with remediation would be covered. But when you start getting into reconstruction after the remediation, then it may trigger different requirements, or it may not be coverable. So if you can apply the construction work to recovering from the remediation, then it may be applicable. But someone else is going to be the sort of referee of that. But then you can take items that are not labor, like she said, for example, you could take the HVAC unit out of the quote from the HVAC subcontractor, and the HVAC unit would be paid for by the grant. The labor to install it would not. So it gets a little tricky on how you divide it up, which is why I asked her for advice on that.
Well, and there's also things that I'm sure you noticed that are not included in the scope of work there. I mean, and they're not huge ticket items, but there's furnishings. If you notice, it says like the kitchen rough out. Well, that still means you have to put some type of counters or cabinets in.
And we said, so as far as the kitchen, we had said we would do that, not part of the, not part of the build out.
Well, if they cover it, why wouldn't you?
Well,
They don't.
yes.
Yeah.
They said they definitely would not cover like the kitchen cabinets and that kind of thing.
So we just need something
Right,
from
same
them
stuff.
that says they're not going to cover that, so we know. But I mean, the telecom equipment,
Right.
if you have all those, everything's terminated in that back right corner, it's not gonna be there anymore. That's gonna be an expense to bring that somewhere else.
Right.
The moving
Yeah.
potentially of the PSDN, that's not a cheap venture, that's gotta get moved.
Yep.
Where's
the EOC?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's gonna be labeled as one of those rooms.
Yeah,
So,
so the
Just-
day room or kitchen type area to keep this EOC relevant would have to have some EOC features. Again, the idea was to keep this scope from getting too big so that we could do it this coming year, potentially using this purchase methodology. So, you know, everything's a compromise. If we want to do it faster and within something we might be able to get approved in this calendar year, then we couldn't get into like building a big EOC and things like that because the project would grow too much and get complicated. So again, this doesn't mean this is the right solution. It's just something I felt the need for us to get something in front of the committee that we could chew on.
but I think that every single component of that building, the rehabbing of that building, should be put under her nose. All the way down to a chair, should be put under her nose for approval or disapproval, so we can leverage that 500,000 as much as we possibly can, relieving the taxpayers from having to cover that. So, you know, when you talk, I don't care if it's a box of nails, every single thing helps. You got $525,000. Let's try to get it done and get it done properly and completely without tax burden.
There was
Local tax.
so, and think
I
she was
agree
more-
completely.
I think she was, and she said multiple times that she'll answer any of our questions. She needed some documentation back, right, Mike?
Yeah.
She needed she needed something back from D'Amato. Do you know if that happened?
I'll have to check. I don't, he works on Mondays, so I don't, although he's very available by email and stuff, I only have the chance to catch him face to face on Mondays.
Okay.
So, Alex, I think it's incumbent upon you or at the fire department to identify the things that are not in here.
Yep.
That the ancillary needs to complete, so it's basically, so it's moving.
Right.
What are all those components? And you're gonna have to get those under her nose for approval or disapproval.
Okay,
So we're not, going back to the town, so, oh, we forgot about.
right. No, I
beds,
agree,
you know.
but we got this yesterday,
Right,
so,
but someone's got to come up with a list of the stuff that's not here.
Right.
That's
What we're gonna talk about tonight.
Are there shower or is there a need for a shower,
yes.
which is not included in
It
this?
is.
Yeah.
It's in the parts list, but I don't,
It's,
There's a new floor plan.
Listen, rough in 2 single-use bathrooms, 1 toilet, 1 urinal, 1 sink.
so the one that does not have a urinal will have a shower.
Doesn't specify that.
It will on the.
Yeah, we clarified that with them and they have not corrected it in this document yet.
There was 2 showers originally proposed, but we needed a decon area. So they
Okay,
took one of the showers as a decon area because that's an OSHA requirement. And the other shower was still in a bathroom.
so then this doesn't account for any under slab sanitary reworking to accommodate like a different floor plan for a shower versus,
I
you
think it
know.
does,
I think it does.
well.
I saw
In
it
the
like,
discussion, it should, whether it's written in here or not, they know they gotta relocate.
right, so we had that conversation last week and we'll confirm that tomorrow when we talk about it again.
It's not listed on the scope of work, if they're anticipating using the same, but otherwise, then that's
Yeah.
They can't because they're gonna be in different locations.
what exactly what it looks like, but then it doesn't like, doesn't list any like. Patch and fill slab on grade, any new under slab sanitary, any of that, so,
Like I said, listen on the parts list, but not on the scope of work.
and then,
So
I-
these are all very good points. Unfortunately, we have clarified some of them already. Unfortunately, we couldn't meet with them until tomorrow. And we're supposed to get updated information tomorrow, but I decided to push this out to the committee for exactly this reason, so we can start getting ideas. And I apologize, we don't have the updated one, but we're close at least.
it does. So the thought was. To have a scope of work similar to this. As like. The project that we either put out to bid or do this non-competitive bid process through Gordian. And then have a separate project addressing any of the site work. It seems like,
Yeah, they won't do say, so whether we have, I think, have Public Works conduct that work if it's minor.
I mean, it
Or
seems, doesn't it,
you
isn't
contract
like the whole issue with that building, like site work related?
Well, as an example, I think I mentioned Alex, we know that because of the sinking in front of the bays, that water comes inside the building, that has to be remedied. You
Like,
can't have water
the whole
pouring in, so, but they're not
reason
gonna
that
pay for
water's coming in the back, is that's all site, and like, what if the answer is, what if when it's looked at by like, not someone from them? Like an engineer or architect or whatever. And their remedy is reworking the back foundation wall. Well, if we've already done all of this, then that seems,
Do we have a ruling on the rear of the building and the water issue? Do we have a definitive? Clear
Carl, no.
understanding that says, hey, what
like,
you're
here's
fine.
how we actually fix
Yeah,
this
the
water
current
problem.
drains are working, they were plugged, they're working, but does that mean there's not gonna be a problem? I don't know.
so when Putnam came in with the town of Putnam came in with their great $500,000 sewer cleaning machine.
Yeah,
They could not clear the concrete pipe up and under Trask Road. It's too full of rocks.
okay,
So that's probably easier to be dug up and replaced as well.
yeah,
Current smarter people than me, the recommended way to do the drainage is you separate the downspout water from the groundwater.
okay.
Right now, it's combined.
Right,
So if you have the pipe with all the nice holes drilled every few inches in it, and you're dumping lots and lots of
Well,
rainwater,
The roof, look at the pipe.
it's just gonna go out those holes and soak around the building.
right,
So you're supposed to have solid pipe with the downspouts to get the water away from the building into that same culvert. And then the holes with the pipe in it, it's supposed to have gravel and fabric around it, which it doesn't, which explains for a whole lot of having a 3/4 full of dirt right now after 40 years.
Well, that, if you're missing sections of pipe.
Yeah, and the elbow
Right,
is
it helps.
missing as well,
But is that fixed in the back of the building?
It is.
Do you guys
And
fix
like-
that?
but you don't have two sets of pipe.
But like, I guess like the overall question was like, okay, do we think that fixing the building, like the downspout water and the minimal, like the curtain drain, is that enough of a fix for the back of that building? Because I feel like when we started, there was much talk about groundwater coming off the hill,
Cutting the hill back.
cutting the hill back, like building that foundation wall up, like what can we do for like extensive drainage and like water diversion from the back of the building, and now it's just like, it's fine, just build, we're good.
You could also probably put,
Like it seems like
you could put some small
I
storm
don't
drains
think
back
that's
there
where
as
we
well.
are. This is.
Like at the very least, it seems like much too extensive of a project for Public Works, I guess without knowing what Public Works does, but it seems like that's a big, like parking lot reworking the front, repaving the whole thing, like that's a lot for Public Works that already has work but all their days, you know what I mean? I don't
Well,
know.
keep in mind, we don't have to be stuck on the public works option either. We could easily add that scope of work to this contract, unknowing that it's not going to be covered by the grant anyway, and not
Right.
apply the grant to it. So what the original goal to get us to this conversation, which is great, the original goal was to have them give us something with a price on it so we could start doing exactly what we're doing tonight. So if if there is more interest in putting more scope into this project, then that's a good conversation for us to have. And if we can, so whatever way we want to find that solution, I think we're still have the options of doing. The challenge was to get some kind of price and see where we would go from there. So now we know we're roughly at $400,000 for the scope of work you have in front of you, barring some tweaks. If we add groundwork on the outside, we have to figure we're going to start adding factors of 10,000, 20,000, whatever. And so we could easily probably approach $500,000 with the project, knowing that anything we add is not likely to be grant covered because, well, anything we add outside won't be grant covered.
What did they say about the roof?
That's why I would question that too. They are you're only, what I read, you're only replacing the insulation.
And how are you gonna do that if the insulation is sandwiched?
Right, I mean, they sandwich that in, and you might even consider putting a pitched roof on it, I mean, a regular roof, I mean, they do it all, everything's been changed, flat roofs are out, I don't care what it is.
So what they proposed to do with the roof was they said that there should be a thin spacer in between the roof framing and the roof deck, which would allow them to pull the insulation out from in between. And we asked that question. And so they would pull the insulation out from in between. The roof sheeting is less than 20 years old. It was replaced.
It's 20 years.
What's that?
It would take 20 years, I think. We did it last cheap.
With some leaks in it.
There's obviously leaks in it now.
Yeah.
Would come
And
in.
you have mechanicals on the roof now.
Right, sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just
Okay.
saying, it feels like that's something that we should be replacing with this project. Right? There's leaks in it, it's 20 years old, I don't know.
Why do we have leaks? That's the key. What's
You got mechanicals on the roof, but you're cutting holes. in it.
Right.
Yes, do we have penetrations?
Put your mechanicals up in the attic, there's all kinds of other things you can do.
The one active leak that I saw when we were down there was the
Right.
right corner.
Right when you walk in the door,
Oh, right,
left,
yeah.
although you just stick your hand out, turn the light switches on,
You like,
and you get dripped
you
on.
hit the water, yeah, I don't know, what the.
I know, sorry, Mike, I just was wondering if they why roof replacement was a specific exclusion and not talked about to include as part of this overall project, it seems silly to do it, it's still in 5 years.
Stuart, what was the warranty/guarantee of that roof when we had it redone? Was it a 20-year? Was there anything like that you recall?
I don't
I
recall.
have a horrible memory.
No, we had that repaired twice, so there was no warranty, we paid for the repairs.
We had and we had reskin at one point?
Oh, yeah, we had to reskin, but even after that, Karen,
I got
we had them back.
the type of roof.
Oh, yeah.
That's typical problems with that type of roof, always leak.
It's a sheet metal roof.
That's why, I mean, if you're gonna do this, what is it to put steel trusses up and throw a roof on, you know? That's.
Well, it's not a
you
flat roof right now, it's,
Oh, it's a
know,
peak
and it's
roof.
got a little pitch to it.
Yeah,
What's
it's
the pitch?
very shallow.
Yeah.
It's very shallow.
But the only penetrations on that roof, there's a big overhead fan in the middle of the bays. There were two or three small fans going out the back.
That's fast.
The vent pipe and then the exhaust pipe for the boiler.
There's some, because mechanicals are inside the building.
Inside the building.
Yeah, there's a boiler room and.
To that monster exhaust fan.
Yeah.
You could probably do without, can't you? Now you have the exhaust system. Do you need that?
well,
Yeah,
this
for-
includes
for
a new
clear quality,
issue for
Turn it on more often than you
living
think.
space, whatever.
Well, and whether that would be covered or not, like,
Andy, Jim Marshall's
I
trying to.
don't know.
Oh,
I don't see why it wouldn't.
I mean, I feel like you could at very least arguably wrap it into the remediation and that, you know,
Yeah.
like remove the moldy things that are attached to it as part of remediation, it just seems like it will never be cheaper to replace than now.
Yeah.
When you're already doing a project, right?
I mean, Mike and I, there's ideas that are generated here that are really questions for the Department of Ag. I mean, do we want someone to summarize what we're talking about and make them talking points for you and her to see if they're covered or not?
Yeah, maybe if, since Chief Moore's in the building and he'll be on he's on the email chain, maybe if he can leave this meeting with some notes, we can add that to the questions, to the Q&A for the contractor tomorrow when we meet with them on Zoom, and we can add it to the conversation with Department of Ag.
So do you have a problem with us emailing you?
No, not at all.
Even if they're random thoughts or questions or whatever, I mean,
I'm perfectly fine with that.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You know, that was the whole idea of pushing this out, even though it's imperfect. Was pushing it out to this meeting so that we could start this discussion.
Well, it gives us a starting point with.
Right.
It's a great starting point.
You know, as an example, what other, not to prolong this, but the rotted sill along the south side of the building, where the whole door wiggles and.
Well, they
moves.
talked about
Did- I don't
like
see-
removing all of
I don't
the
see I don't see any replacement
Skin.
of that sill.
exterior siding, gutter, downspouts, wall insulation.
Yeah, that thing is separated and rot.
It's gotta be part of putting on new skin.
I would, yeah,
Door
what we try to
frame.
avoid is when they put the new skin on, oh, we got, someone's got to pay to fix it, I'm not fixing that. And you need 30 feet and the wall's gotta come down. You know?
You don't put any screws in it, just let it swing.
You know, let it swing in the breeze. Yeah, so those are the things that I would think would be part of the federal money. But I don't know. Those are things I think about and get to you, so you can have that discussion. Now, the conference call tomorrow is with Department of Ag or with Gordy?
With Gordian.
With Gordy, okay. All right, well, they're all.
Yeah, we're expecting some updated scope and the drawing with some changes made from the one you have, like changing around a little bit the layout of the exit doors and the locker room and things like that.
So, yeah, well, leaking roof, current leaking roof. The,
And you're still questioning if you're getting water in through the ground.
you know,
So either you can seal the floor or you can extend the concrete walls up. So you start your paneling up 4 feet,
like a
not,
wall in the back.
Yeah, that's.
Well, we did that-
definitely
did
not-
that at Stafford, they cut that metal off and
We did in the front for that reason.
then the front would block, same reason, was all rotted out.
That's definitely not included. Yeah.
No, it's not, but I mean, if you're not, just to put it back exactly the way it is, I think you have to maybe have a little bit of
How much effort did Carl put into the back of that building?
better.
No,
Like,
Well,
you can seal the floor.
He came out, he looked, he was supposed to give us some suggestions and that's where it's been.
yeah, gee, I like to get an engineer's stamp on that thing so that what you did or what you're doing is adequate.
Well, where we stand now, Alex, we have the downspouts in the front are draining onto the pavement.
Somewhat, yep.
What do you mean somewhat? So any foundation drainage across the front is separated down from the downspouts.
Correct.
We didn't do that in the back though, did we?
Yeah, but you don't have any plans to leave that.
No.
Hey,
No, no,
water
no.
in the front like that, do you?
No.
Jesus Christ, I hope not.
No,
Because
not at all.
drink out there.
The reason I'm asking these questions is, do we have any groundwater issues? Can we put some test pipes in the ground? And see where groundwater is?
I don't want to test groundwater.
When Public Works was there, they dug test pits in the back.
It was dry.
That's right.
Okay.
So there's a strong possibility, strong likelihood that all of that water that came into the building had to do with the fact.
Yeah.
That we were dumping rainwater on the roof into a foundation drain that had no place to send it.
Well, that is a consideration. Those do have to be separated without a doubt.
And it has to, they have to be separated, but that has to be done, that, no matter what, that's gotta be redone.
Yeah.
No matter what on the outside, it's before you even start doing your rehab on the building,
That
you
be
should
done.
fix that first. Other than fixing the building again and have mold grow back in, it's not,
Right.
not a good idea.
No, that's why I'm skeptical about the roof and these insulation. You know,
Well,
can
you know, the first thing I saw, and, you know, I know they brought up last meeting that they were talking to these people, they said something about replacing the roof. Which, okay, but replacing it, and then I read it, they just said they're pulling insulation,
Not
re-put
replacing
insulation,
it.
so I would still question.
Absolutely, replace it.
Alex got all that?
It's like approaching the end of its life.
In your mind or on
anyway.
paper?
Why would we not?
And then, I know the roof is flat, you know, it's not
Alex,
flat.
make a small list too for you here.
Oh, you're the
Yes,
best, thank you.
Me too, so.
We'll just, yeah, email it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go home and probably on my way home think of 30 other things.
Right.
Great.
It was an email to. Random.
No, that concrete pipe we could flush.
The pipe could be, yeah.
They couldn't flush it with a $500,000 machine.
Oh, the big one?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was their jet system or whatever for cleaning drains, correct?
Yeah.
If you put a high velocity, a lot of water through that pipe, you could wash most of that rock out of there. Because the only way it came in was from the open end that was buried next to near the building. On the other, on the northeast side of Trask.
How close do you get to that pipe?
We were quite a ways off the road. So you-
It was almost up to the edge of Trask, but I was coming up from the gully up. That's where a lot of that was.
Yeah, well, we found the end of it.
Yeah. So it's either gotta be cleared,
You're
or
right.
you spend more time
Yeah.
or less time to dig it up and put a new one in.
Well, cutting across Trask, I wouldn't, I'd clean it out first.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be.
How big is that pipe?
What's that?
How big is that pipe?
24 inch. That'll handle whatever the building.
You could get up crawl in there.
My son I wrote that. Not anymore.
No, I know Tyler.
Yeah.
But that, Ralph, that pipe terminated in the middle of the dirt
Yeah,
section. It wasn't,
it wasn't,
There wasn't
it
connection.
was beyond the edge of Trask.
yeah, cause the cone's still there.
So we could open that up and clean that concrete pipe out.
We hit that with a fire truck? No, didn't we like put the hose in there and try to like put volumes of water in that thing and?
The good thing is where it's blocked, I think, is you can just dig down in the parking lot there and get to it.
Yeah,
Like you're
you
doing
might be able
extensive
to
site
reseed
work,
it, pull
prepare
it
yourself
out.
clearing it, dig
Yeah,
it, like just
Dig it up.
replace it, fix it.
Also, it runs under Trask Road and it terminated.
Like why did it get full of rocks at the
It just
beginning,
goes
like
into
fix
the
the why it got full of
Yeah,
rocks,
there
right?
was nothing hooked to it, there was.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a storm drain there, and there's not.
There's no storm drain.
There should have been. Probably a
Well,
catch basin.
there was
Catch
one
basin.
on the original prints that
They-
Yeah.
showed, storm drain existing. So that means like when the diner was there was a storm drain there.
Could be, yeah.
Very well put in.
And it could have evolved into a catch basin at some point that never got.
Probably should have and
Didn't get done. But to bury the end of that pipe with nothing blocking it was stupid.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry,
Get
I
your-
jacked that a little bit.
We get our thoughts
That's
out,
all right.
so we-
Well, any site work's gonna be outside the scope of the grant anyway. So
Right.
it seems that has to be fairly well researched. If we have stuff from Carl, the town engineer, that we could resuscitate and war game of possible cost. It's probably not gonna be public works. They don't think, I think they already said their backhoe's not big enough or something, or if I remember that right?
No, I think they could do it.
They
They
could do
wanted to, but
Maybe they don't want. it. Maybe it's outside their skill set.
it's a little bit, yeah.
All right. And I'm not confident that. For my limited work, I don't know, maybe you've done more with government stuff, it's almost like. Well, you tell us what you wanna do and we'll tell you if you can, okay,
Yeah.
submit it again, they're not gonna say.
I think it's the same that you were saying, is like, we should ask for everything.
Right, we ask
Instead of
for
being, well,
everything.
I can't ask for that,
Make
like,
sure they
ask
know,
for
no,
everything, and
ask
then just
for
like make them
everything.
say no.
Let them say no, exactly, because you don't know their definitions of things, you
Exactly.
don't want. And it sounds like it would be foolish to not put a new roof on it. It's
I
not
think-
there, if a roof's 20 years old. And
Right.
you're gonna be in there gutting everything,
Right.
put a new roof on.
And if there's suspected mold in those
Yeah,
panels, I would,
yes.
I would think that there could be an argument
Be
maybe.
clean, and but like,
It's gonna raise the bid, that's all, this is, I mean, this is a pretty cool way to start.
well, this isn't even a
To me, there's another,
price,
I'll occur.
not even, well, it's,
yeah, well, they're gonna talk to the contractor tomorrow.
it's why it's competition.
Has the building inspector been involved with this in terms of?
It hasn't got that far yet, it's just.
Yeah, what did the building inspector do for review of this?
Mike, did you get his response?
Yes. We did a cursory review with the building inspector with him knowing it wasn't a completed design. And we verified just some key agreements or conditions or whatever you want to call it. The wall that is in between the apparatus bay and the living spaces has to be fire rated, which the contractor already knew. You can see some discussion in there about double fire rated sheetrock on that wall between the living area and the bays. What I did not find when I reviewed it was any discussion of the ceiling of the living spaces, because that would have to be separated also with a rating. And that would happen either by putting a rated ceiling over the living spaces or running the rated wall all the way to the roof deck, the underside of the roof deck. So they didn't actually address, unless I skimmed over it and missed it, how that's going to be done. So that's on my list of questions for tomorrow. And then there were some other things the building inspector at this preliminary level said, make sure we do. And those are things we had already included, like, the separate ventilation. And he agreed that there are exceptions that will allow us to do this without sprinklers, and he listed a couple different options for doing that. So we do have clarity that we will not be absolutely required to do sprinklers in the living space.
There you go.
Where do we go? Well, where do we go from here? I think we just keep looking at it, and Chief Moore has agreed that we can fire all of our ideas to him, and he and the first selectman will digest that and talk it over with the folks from CERCOG, which will then likely come up with a revised proposal. And if the recommendation is for a new roof, they would include that, and then the price would go up and the scope of work would change. And that's fine. And then
Mike, they'll give us a quote to engineer the back or look at what they have to do to that as well, won't they?
They will quote anything. We were just trying to kind of define something that was easy to wrap our brains around, and said, this is like, we'll put this conversation in this box. Basically, the only thing you go outside the building for is the skin of the building itself. And so now we have an idea of what the price looks like for that scope. We can certainly add more scope and see what the price is, see what ag will cover in the grant. We just may have to dial some things back out if we decide to move forward. For example, part of the reason for leaving all like the piping work for outside out of the scope was not just about the grant applicability, but also, do we have other ways to procure this that would be less expensive? And I mean, call me sentimental, but in the spirit of the way we used to do things around here, and the spirits of how these fire departments were started, maybe we got to get some of the fire department members and some of the townspeople out there with some shovels and help do some of the minor, the smaller scope of work here. Maybe we can run some plastic pipes from the downspouts out to the gully with just, people power.
Well, both the foundation drains and the downspouts can can connect to that 24-inch RCP.
Right.
That's, so,
Yep,
know,
that could work also.
you don't have to cross the road to do that.
Right.
You've got to put a manhole in at the end of that 24-inch pipe. You dump it all in there.
So those that have questions, if you get them to me by morning, we have a meeting with them at 9.
All right, tell me a little bit about the experience with them. You were there, did they seem interested? They seemed eager to help, was it a good experience?
Very interested, very engaged. They seem to know their business. We were only there for probably an hour or so.
Hour and a half.
But they asked quite a few questions. They had quite the resume.
They seem knowledgeable about this type of work and.
Yeah, there's no firehouses.
They just
Okay.
finished Canton's Firehouse?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there's some confidence in this document, hold it, that
It just got a.
it's real.
Yeah.
It's something you can really, we can. Okay.
The firehouse they just built, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, 5 million, 5 bays with admin.
Yeah.
Sleeping stuff.
14,000 square feet.
1,000 square feet.
14,000 square feet, I think, 5 bays plus a big admin section. Admin and living space, and that was 5 million.
That was in Canton?
And, yep,
I was just there yesterday. Didn't see it. All right, good. One question that was coming to mind, does this, if we were to take advantage of this. Well, let me put it, let me start with, if we don't take advantage of this money would just go away, I think, or I guess some of it could be redirected towards.
So they did say we have 3 years.
Okay.
They'd like it closed within 3 years.
3 years, all right, so that gives us a little bit of wiggle room, that's good to know. All right.
yeah, we do have to make some moves sooner than that, though. We have to get her something that would
Yep.
allow her to move it from the federal, sort of bank account to the state bank account. She said the federal bank account is at risk of being swept at some point if the money sits there. But once it's transferred to the state bank account, it's much safer and more guaranteed that we will keep it and have use of it. So
think
we
that-
do have to start, getting her something to chew on so that she has an excuse. She has to justify transferring it.
Mhm. I like this avenue, as I briefly mentioned in my email that in my limited experience again, when we've already involved the Capital Region Council of Governments, they don't need their approval anymore. So that's kind of a plus. So if it's in the state, if it goes into the state coffers and it's already been approved by this board, there's not too many arguments about that. So I think that that's a pretty good way to go. My second question was, if we were to take advantage of this and move forward with this renovation, how would that influence our decision about single station or 2-station solution for the next phase? I mean,
How does the renovation of that station?
if that station was functioning up and running and having say a 30-year lifespan, how would that influence the conversation we're having now with our consultant's report about single station or 2-station solution?
Alex, what did they say?
Just curious. I mean, I'm not asking for an answer tonight. It's just part of the discussion that was on it.
What did they say, how long this was good for this building?
Mike, they didn't give it, they said it's not a 20-year repair. It's this is a stopgap.
Oh, it is a stopgap?
Yeah, I don't think it affects the work,
Okay, then
the
that's
work
fine.
of the committee.
Yeah, that's fine, but it does give us some breathing room. So we wouldn't be forced to house all the stuff in someone else's front yard.
The major goal right here is to get all our equipment.
But that's exactly right.
In town.
That was just a question. So if it's only, if
You're
it's
right.
only meant to
So,
be a stopgap, that's fine.
whether. If you look at the map of the living quarters, it's small. It's not there's still not a whole lot of room in there. It's not designed to be a long-term solution.
Well, you're effectively losing a bay too.
Yeah, correct.
The other part of it is, we had them break it out specifically like this of, if we decided we're not going to do the living quarters. And then we're just going to get it back to, we can put apparatus in it. We can do that. We're going to take the panels off, put the panels, clean them, put them back on. Get that mold, get the building mold free, so we can turn the heat back on and get our trucks back in town.
Mhm.
That is why we had it priced this way, so that we can go through and say, yes, we wanna do this, no, we don't wanna do this.
Alright,
Are they cleaning or replacing the side panels?
Replace it.
Replacing.
Okay.
We still have to be mindful that this still has to be an EOC though, right?
If you're going to use the funding from the grant,
From the grant,
yes.
okay. Cool. Very good. No, just a question, so.
Which there's components to that,
Yeah.
that to make an EOC that you have to have there.
Right,
To
that's-
effectively operate during a major emergency.
And in this plan, those you feel those are included, those are not.
They're not,
Not yet.
I'm talking about parts and pieces, I'm talking about telecommunications equipment, you know,
Okay,
whiteboards, all that
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
To mitigate and,
And the square footage and trying not to put it in the bags
right,
got it.
and have
and fit.
6 or 8 people.
Well,
around.
we've had 10 or 15 sometimes, as
Well-
well, Eversource is there, and
Yeah.
when we convene for an EOC meeting for, whatever event there may
Mhm.
be, it's typically, the CEO of the town and their administrative assistant.
Sure.
Finance is typically involved, the superintendent, public works, and a whole bunch of fire department.
But
people.
knowing all that and assuming that that's, for every weather or major emergency that we've had to populate that EOC, you're probably talking about actually taking that entire first bay instead of doing a half a bay for the living quarters and the day room. You probably wanna make that bigger.
But,
to take that whole
in
day.
some places it's done on a multi-purpose basis. East Hartford's firehouse, they have a third floor training room that's, fairly big. That's where they do their training on a day-to-day basis. And over the side, they have basically a really big closet with rollout carts that have all the materials you need for the EOC. And it's pre-wired, so you can take your radio heads and your telephones and stuff and you
Nice.
set up tables, plug them in. There's a way to commingle the space. Because obviously an EOC is not used very often, but when you
don't have
try to use it,
You don't have the square footage of that building to do that.
right,
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So do you sacrifice that first bay for that? Or do you shoehorn it in a closet somewhere and operate in a bay? That's the problem.
It's a little half bay that.
Yeah, you could,
That's based on.
that's the rest of that bay. So if you would close that down, get it over with and make it a meeting room.
Yeah, cause you've already lost it for a vehicle.
So this
Yeah.
is the conversation where you show, where we show the diverging paths of how we solve the overall facility problems. We have been working so far in this committee with talking about sort of the more major solutions, larger capital projects, where should the stations ideally be in town and all that. And that really, to me, was aimed more at a more permanent solution and more significant projects. There's the solution we have in front of us definitely doesn't solve a lot of these problems. It doesn't solve a proper EOC for full EOC activation. It can operate as somewhat of an EOC for the smaller events that we more often get. Again, we have a diverging that's where the compromises are with this solution. And so this solution compromises a full EOC. It compromises completely redoing the building. It compromises a few things in trade for potentially being an attainable solution right away. And that's what I guess we have to kind of grind our way through. Do we want to leverage the grant and maybe some public money to come up with a solution that is not a final capital project solution maybe, but is a reasonable for the next few years solution while the capital process continues to march slowly forward? Or do we, after grinding this through conversation some more, say, that just doesn't make sense. We really need to just do it right. And we're just gonna have to wait a couple of years. And the reason I motivated for this solution was partly to get this conversation going. And also because the solution of having staff in the camper and sleeping in the kitchen at the other firehouse, I think that's a fragile situation.
And there's gonna be a cost incurred with that regardless, because it's not sustainable.
Yeah. So we kind of have to figure out which, these are diverging paths at this point. We're going to have to kind of figure out which path we want to recommend. Recommend a more short-term solution and then big projects, or recommend staying the way we are until we do the bigger projects?
That's good practice. All right.
Good.
So we need to chew on this. Is there any more to discuss this evening? On this item under the business?
Now you wanna bring up that other stuff I sent you?
I give it to Ralph. Let's have to talk a little.
I don't know if you want to talk among, there are some other funding opportunities I found on good old Facebook lately. One was town of Munson, Mass, just over the border.
Mhm.
They're putting on for them, a large addition. It's probably equivalent to square footage of like 2 bays, but it's not bays. It's administrative space,
Okay.
rooms and things like that. And they got federal money for that, on a grant. So it's not a loan, for. Oh, $750,000?
You did earn properly.
Yeah,
And
and,
of course we know.
yeah, it was a good chunk, it was a good chunk of money, so that, and they got that through their federal, their senators and congressmen and that sort of thing, so that was federal money that they managed to get.
Okay.
On a direct grant to work on their station.
We only got 5 1/4.
Yeah, oh yeah, there you go. On a statewide basis, Kathy Austin is the senator from down in Basra in that area. She got, I think, 750,000 for Basra. And they used it on the shopping list. They bought an ambulance, rescue tools, bunker gear. There's a list in the article there about all the stuff they got, but she was able to get that through the state to some degree to grant for the Basra Fire Department.
And Ralph has the details.
Well, I can email.
New ambulance with a Dodge 5500 chassis.
Well, the fact that we have something like this to, or even our own partners within the town, the Board of Finance, Planning and Zoning. A document to me like this is a great start because it's something tangible that people can look at. And you could just simply ask our Tammy Nuccio and Jeff Gordon to say, hey, we'd like to move forward.
Yeah,
with it.
or how did that work? Was that a bond commission thing, or I don't know the ins and outs of politics.
You just gotta ask.
There's another article that I sent along was a fire station in Mass, so they're trying to get a new fire station. And they were talking about cost
where?
Westwood, Mass, to be exact. But what they did is they compared cost per square foot for their proposed station as well as like 4 or 5 other stations in the area. And in Oklahoma, I think it's between $780 to like $960 per square foot, based across 5 firehouses. So, I know different figures have been thrown out over the years of,
Yeah, Westwood was, let's say Stoughton was, I think, the least expensive at 732.
Well, those are pretty tony areas though, that's not,
Dedham
it's not really
was
rural.
980.
That's not, those aren't really rural areas though. Stoughton, Dedham.
they're outside 128 or 90.
Yeah, they're like, they call it like the Beltway almost, that's.
But this is construction costs they're talking about.
No, right.
Of dollars per square foot.
They are.
And I believe that's a price close to what James Marshall had talked about in CIP previously, that, it's not,
Right.
it's not in the $200 per square foot or,
No.
400 and.
But if Canton had it for 5 million, and what, how many square feet was that? 14,000, I'm not doing the math in my head, but probably can.
So that was an example of some others, departments that have gone through this recently and what they ended up paying per square foot to put up your building.
Yeah. 15 into 50.
$357?
How much?
350,
Yeah.
360.
I think in a smaller town, it's probably a lot less than Stoughton and Dedham, where houses up there. Very expensive.
Well, and what kind of building do they
Well, we.
put out?
Typically, they're brick or concrete block.
Right.
They're not
With a structural steel frame.
usually. And that's how you get a, 50 to 100 year building as opposed to a hit building that's not gonna last you.
Well, a
50
tin can doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
No, but would it be 10 years? I mean,
That seems,
12 years, 15 years? I mean, this one lasted 45 years. What's
I
the?
feel like 10 years is like,
It was, I think it was designed for 20
Strange
years.
comment.
Yeah, but I mean, 10 years is probably what it's gonna take to get to get a new firehouse anyway. I mean, it's gonna take a while. So, and if we got the money to spend that our legislators worked hard for,
Yeah, but
I think we wanna work.
regardless of the grant money or not, we're still gonna be spending taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Hell of a
I
lot
agree.
less.
And I feel like that's that, like your question about like 02 or 1 or what, like, that's still part of this.
It's still a
right?
part, right, but again, if, since it's only a short-term solution, then, I mean, it doesn't really influence our overall decision.
It certainly,
But it gives us some.
I mean, it certainly, I feel like it certainly would influence many taxpayers.
It would influence many
it towards,
taxpayers.
like, oh, well, we're already fixing this one up for this cost, which is not small still for Wellington. We're we're already fixing this one up. Why would we get rid of it now and build a whole new one? That's like, I feel like that would be a very tough sell. If that's something that we were trying to,
Maybe not in 10 years.
Well, there will be those who will pick up on that. Yeah, I can think of a couple individuals who would not want to spend any money.
like, why would we renovate this?
10 years,
be
they're not gonna be
functional
around, and
If
neither
we're
will you.
gonna get rid of
I mean,
location,
I
and
won't
that
be either.
reinforces that as a location. Right?
But you still have the problem where you got people that are working for the town that you should support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And absolutely, because I'm still saying you're probably not getting the same service as you would if you had a better place for these people to be there, because you just can't.
You really shouldn't have people sleeping on a camp.
So you say,
You're not.
That's just.
no, I know you don't.
Yeah, you have extended.
So I mean, from when we started here, that was our first objective, is to get people back. in the building.
I think it's 13 back operational.
And we're
And-
right back there.
It should be operational.
It should,
It should,
Yes.
I agree.
and then we can go from there and say, yeah, this building's good for 10 months, let's go.
It's a non-conforming
Let's go do
estimate right now.
But we gotta do something, you gotta spend money.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to spend a little bit of money, and you got some grant money.
And make it good for like 10 years.
Yeah. And it gets people out from sleeping in a camper. And the
Yeah.
camper could be sold for $5,000 and we could put that towards the roof. All right. Down payment on the site work. All right, are we all done with new business A for now?
What the root cause?
Alex, you got enough to chew on here? You got,
Yeah.
I think you
Anybody
do.
else that's got anything, send me,
Yeah, I got it.
before 9 o'clock, please.
120
Tomorrow morning.
I think this is a pretty good start. I think it's got interest. I'm glad we're using our CERCOG membership. I don't think we've ever got much out of it in life.
Are we
Frog.
locked in to? Once we've like started down this path with these Gordian people, are we like locked into using them now? Are we like signing like,
So
can we take this scope of work and then put it out to
you
bid?
can, so the theory behind, and Mike, you saw on?
No,
I am, yes, sir.
So, just help me out if I go off the reservation here, but the theory behind using them, letting them come in and do this and price it is because they've already been vetted through DAS for competitive bidding. That process has already been done.
well, it's not a competitive bid though, it's like.
It's been done.
It was,
done in the
it
past.
was competitively bid to get them on the list.
Is it labor pricing?
Yeah,
And
they're on state contract.
material is material.
Right, but like saying like Gordian only uses Millennium in this zone.
Right.
They only have one GC in this area. So you're only getting pricing from this one general contractor.
Right.
Right, the
because-
pricing is based on an agreed
Ah,
menu or whatever you want to call it with CROG, just like DAS does.
Right,
So
so there's,
supposedly the various types of work are already pre-specified, so the price is essentially set item by
Like the-
item.
their unit prices are preset. Is that what you're kind of saying? Like
That's what Gordian explained to us, is that they basically, when this was competitively bid originally by CROG, various companies put in and said, I will mark up plywood and building materials by X% over cost. And, one company said their X% would be 3, another company said 2, and Millennium said 1 or whatever. So my understanding is some of it is markup over cost, some of it is labor rate, some of it is per unit. Um, and I think it's a complicated matrix or menu or whatever that they work off of. But once they agreed to what it was, it's essentially plugged into a software and they just start putting the scope of work in and the measurements. And eventually the software says that's going to take 10 sheets of plywood. You agreed that the plywood would be X dollars, whatever. And that's how the numbers are generated. I'm sure there's a little wiggle room in all of these things, but it's supposedly it's you're not going to beat the price any other way. That doesn't mean we can't, but that's what the premise is.
That was a good, helpful explanation, thank you.
That's why people buy up a state contract all the time, because it's the whole system, all the pricings are embedded for. them.
There's more, like, is there always only one choice though? Isn't there like
Well,
lots of like?
it depends what
there's
it
usually,
is.
like a couple choices.
It depends what, so it's like for vehicles on
There's a
the
couple
under state
choices.
contract, there's, now I think there's one.
Yeah.
For vehicles, well, there might be a couple in the state, but as far as if you want a Chevy Tahoe, there's only one vendor for that.
Right.
You can't buy a Chevy Tahoe anywhere else, so, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it should still go out for competitive bid.
Yeah, because I remember years ago, we bought our first pickup out of Stafford. The price from the dealer was cheaper than state bid. So state price isn't always the cheapest, and it doesn't hurt to.
I mean, it
advertise
certainly is
out.
gonna push your timeline back, cause then you're gonna need like, I mean, I feel like, wouldn't they need that anyway, like, actual, I mean. Certainly, this would be like the fastest method, right, but,
Well, it gives us something better than a WAG price on it, but I think we might do better if we went out for bid, we might not.
Good starting point, though.
Good starting point.
It's the most educated price.
So
you
they
can
give
have.
you, they're already giving you a somewhat of a drawing and. It's somewhat of a drawing,
Cocktail napkin.
but. Then you can go get an architect,
yeah.
engineer, go design the whole
That
thing.
might be something they provide too.
You know,
This is just a floor plan right now, but maybe part of what they offer is full set of plans.
It also allows us to give a number to Board of Finance.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. That's, I think that's a very important.
Right. A ballpark figure.
but yeah, the board of finance wants three bids.
But then we get them. We can certainly
Do
say.
they need that if it's this
Yeah,
though?
I don't know, do they, yeah, I don't know.
If it's this, they say,
Maybe
I
not,
don't need
no.
it,
If you can get there.
approved
right.
vendor or whatever.
Okay,
All right, so, is there anything more to discuss for? We can move this into old business and we'll keep this alive, but for tonight, are we, think we're done with this?
Yeah,
now I just gotta feed everything to Alex.
All right,
Mike and Alex, is it out of line to have you guys report back to the group in an email of what the results of your meeting from tomorrow?
Yeah, I'd like to take tomorrow's meeting and hopefully we'll hear in the next couple of days from Megan at the Department of Agriculture also. Maybe we can combine all that information. If she's delayed, then we'll just give you what comes out of tomorrow's meeting.
I mean, the information flows out, instead of waiting for another meeting like this to hear the response of what happened, just spit it out as soon as you get it.
Yeah. I'm hoping that there's a little bit of, when Megan comes back with some information, we might be able to run right back to Gordian and say, can you help us clarify some of these things? So it's sort of a work in progress, but if it seems like there's going to be more than a day or two in between, we'll just tell you what we get at each step.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so we don't have to wait for another month to sit here
Well-
and hear about a phone conversation.
Alex and I will get it back to Ralph and Andy so they can distribute it.
we'll distribute it and then we'll read it into the minutes or something, so
We won't meet again for 12th of February, so.
Yeah, no.
Sooner we can get something.
cool. All right, good work. And yeah, thanks, Mike, for recognizing this opportunity. I think it's pretty huge.
Well, it's at least something worth an hour and 11 minutes of the meeting.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Okay, Fitch and Associates,
Publishing the report.
final report. For the last meeting, I drafted an email to the first selectman and asked him to withhold payment on the final payment to Fitch, which he has authorized our business office to do that accordingly. We haven't heard back yet on what Fitch is going to what they're gonna do about the two items that we felt was missing, the site visit and a presentation to the town. So since we don't have any feedback from that, and we can't really talk much about what he might or might not do. But was there any other points of the report that stood out as that we feel is not?
Well, hold on a second. I did the,
Well, you did your introduction.
yes, well, that's been rewritten,
Okay.
based on some input from a couple of members of this committee.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanna run it past everybody because I wanna incorporate this in Fitch's report. And get it posted online so that the people who are clamoring to see this report can see it.
Okay. But before we post it, I still wanna know, is everyone in this committee satisfied that the RFP was met? I just wanna,
Oh, you wanna, oh, you're kinda adding that one.
Did we come to a con?
I thought we did. I just wanna make sure that-
Does it have to come out? Does he have to come out and do a presentation?
he does, that's what's missing.
Yeah,
But as far as the written
the
report,
rest of that, yeah.
we're not getting anything else, so we're okay with that.
I would confirm. There's no more deliverables. et cetera.
Clarify that in my mind. Okay.
As far as the paper report, yeah, I think we're.
Okay.
we're
So
good.
now it's just, we want, the committee wants to have a summary.
I wanna put a summary from the committee's perspective in
Yep.
front of Fitch's report.
Okay.
Because I think their executive summary is gonna fly over the heads of a lot
Well,
of.
I read his summary and it's good with me.
Okay.
Yes.
Because what I would like to have from the committee is acceptance of this, and we'll incorporate it into Fitch's report and get it posted online.
Well, can we incorporate it into it, or is it just
Well,
overlay?
yeah, addendum or whatever,
No,
yeah.
I put it into their document.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think you should put it into their
I
document.
don't think you should. put
Sure,
That's not our
Should be
document.
up front.
It should be up front, but I
It
don't
should
think
be
it
a-
should
it
be
should
a
be a
part of their
cover
document.
document. I don't think it should be embedded in it.
I'll put it as a separate document,
Put it as a
whichever way you want it.
And maybe put that first, a couple of days ahead of time.
Yeah, make sure it's ahead of the report.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
top of the list.
Yeah,
yeah.
Read me first.
Yeah, right,
Yes,
read me
yes.
first, and then I hyperlink within it to the report. So-
Okay.
And then you'll read the report, like, all right.
Yes. Yeah, but I don't think it should become part of it.
Yeah.
Feels like
I've
a.
been pushing for this.
If everybody's good with this, then I'm ready. I'm ready.
Wait, Ralph, I have a question.
I don't need that. You have time. I mean, the volume of feedback that I got was.
Monumental.
No, I'm not gonna say anything.
I was like hot one day and then I like finished up quick the next day, so it was like detailed and then like not detailed. Maybe you guys talked about it at the last meeting, but the back page where you say the options identified in the study that must be considered include but are not limited to. Like option one, the top one, combine the two departments into a single organization and construct a single new fire station. And then the second one being continue with current two-station model and properly plan in the out years to replace the main stations as financial support is available. Is that the conclusions in the summary, in the study?
Yep.
I thought both single and two-station models as described in their pitch report are based on a single department with like distributed resources.
So I think there's multiple potential solutions there.
Like, this is saying combine two departments and new one station.
Yep.
And I thought that we previously talked, obviously not like we're not the ones that nail it down, but talked about like the two-station model, like the times that response times he talks about were based on a combined department.
Well, there's implications on any locations of the firehouses, there's response time implications. So based on my recollection, as an example, if you took, if you constructed one firehouse. Forget about the consolidation part, you construct one firehouse and put both fire departments operation out of there, there's going to be identified, quantified reduction or increase in response times to certain areas of the community
Certain area.
versus what you have right now as a model.
Right,
Right.
right. I guess my main question is about the second one, where we're having the two station model, or multiple physical stations.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily signify two independent fire companies.
No,
I feel like the way that it's listed here implies that. Like talking about combining the two departments into a single organization, makes sense, starting at a single new station. And then your second bullet point as continue with the current two station model. Like you talk a lot about the two separate things, and then on that line item, I don't know. Like. You don't mention, like the fact that you mentioned the combination of the departments in the top one and not on the second one makes it seem as if you're only gonna combine and have one station, that's choice A, and then choice B would be two station model, oh, it must be the two separate departments, like I feel like there's a lot of
No,
room
yeah,
for
that
question of the way
you-
that it's described
you
there.
could wordsmith that a little bit better and put in somehow a two-station model with a operationally consolidated or not, is. I hear what you're saying. One is, so one of the first one suggests a consolidated agency, the
Right.
second one suggests not.
Exactly,
And that's
the
not-
way that it's described
That's, yeah,
here,
that's not the case. Or what was,
which I didn't think was the case,
No,
but I took
is
that
that
up, to me, that's
two-station
how I.
model, whether you're consolidated or not, is the point, is that from a response time perspective, a two-station model like we have today is from a response perspective, more advantageous than having a single location, whether it's here,
Yes.
there, down the street, doesn't matter where.
Yes,
So,
I just feel like the way that it's described
So,
here.
No, I
is
get
not-
your point. I get
yeah,
your point.
I agree with you.
Like maybe even take out the combination of the two departments, just say, I don't know.
You could, because it is mentioned, and, I think it's important to note that hopefully people pick up on that phrase, where to go? Include but not limited to, there's a bunch of other recommendations in that.
There are,
There's talk of emergency services coordinator, there's talk of this, there's numerous other things in there. Those are the main topics, but the second bullet could, or the first bullet could be reworked.
Yeah.
I give you that, yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna switch. You want final wording tonight?
no,
Yeah, the goal is not to drive people down a certain road, but present in summation what the biggest talking points of the.
right, and I feel like that
Without
what,
shifting.
I feel like what we say here as the two big talking points, I feel like they should align with the conclusions
Sure.
of the summary.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in on this. I think because the focus of the study was primarily on the effectiveness of getting resources to the calls, and I'm way oversimplifying it, that those need to be sort of the prevailing points about, as Tyler and Brenna, to some extent, what you were both saying is it is a conversation about resources to calls, what the time effect is of a couple different solutions, and what the potential dollar effects might be of those solutions. As I said, I almost want to see it in my head as simple as just a grid. The grid that says, for this solution, this is the average response time to the community, and this is the anticipated cost. For this solution, this is the time and this is the cost. And you have just basically those two options in that for the really boiled down version, because the people who want to read into the details will read the report. The people who want a one-page summary need a one-page summary in plain language, so it's digestible to the broadest amount of our citizens, I think. Not to be insulting, but to be available to all the different, people with all the different experience levels and education levels and whatever. And then we should not skip out on those other points. The consultant also recommended considering hiring an emergency services coordinator. The consultant also made the point that there are these 2 or 3 advantages of combining the organizations regardless of a single station or 2 stations. I think they have to be kept each in their own sort of lane and just simplified down into a one page. And speaking of that, Ralph, did you send this out or is it just in front of people physically?
No, I did send, I think I did send it.
Okay, I
Yeah,
must have missed that. I'm sorry.
it went out to everybody. I sent out the
Okay, with
wrong,
the agenda.
I sent out the wrong document in round one, and then I followed up and sent out a second correct file.
Okay.
A couple hours ago, actually.
Oh, I might have started ignoring your emails by that point.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Keep in mind, the original goal here in my mind for this whole thing, to explain to people who are relatively new to town, who didn't grow up here, that we have two independent fire companies now. How we got to this point, why we got to this point, that was part of the goal of this. It was not to delve into the nitty gritty of the details of what Fitch has produced for us. It was more an introductory explanation of why we have two departments. And that's really all I wanted to get into. I didn't
So I
want,
understand that. I understand that, but I think what a lot of us were looking for was the plain language summary of the Fitch report. And the idea of adding a little historical context is probably good, but not turning it into the historical lesson versus the boiled down plain language summary of Fitch's report. I think the context is important, but I think if we're looking to do a summary of a detailed report, we need to have minimum details.
that was not my goal in the beginning. My goal in the beginning was to explain how we got to where we are today. It was not to boil down Fitch's report into total plain language of Fitch's report.
Okay, well, that's what some of us were talking about.
Because I don't think we're there yet as a committee. We still have to go over Fitch's report. And come to the conclusion that we feel that we should give to the.
Report back to.
No, we already decided we were not going to do that. We already decided we were going to present it to the people with Fitch's options, those two major options, and get feedback from the people.
Right.
But I think
that's
Dave's
the best
point is
part
that
of
our work is, just because the report's done, our work isn't done. The committee still is going to have to, based on the feedback of the public, we're gonna have to make some hard recommendations to the various town entities
That's
on what
okay.
direction we think they should go based on the report. So I don't think.
We haven't got from the townspeople
Yeah,
yet.
we get the
have not
feedback
got
yet,
any
We haven't put anything in front of them.
Right.
nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
We're holding back on getting it from the townspeople because we wanted to summarize it for them so that they wouldn't get caught up in the technical mire. That's what I swear the conversation was about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we don't feel we need to summarize Fitch's report, then let's release it to the people tomorrow so they can start looking at it.
Or should we have this, like the background and the history and like the explanation of how we got here part without the part that talks about the study?
You do that.
I think we just released the report. That's what I said from the
Yeah,
start.
I agree.
And let the town just digest it as they see fit. And we're gonna get.
And you're gonna have a meeting, so then you're gonna have a lot of questions.
And then, right, and then we can formulate our summary based on, to try to anticipate what their questions might be.
Grass and, you know.
Well, I think a lot of the questions you're gonna possibly get would be answered in the first couple pages of the summary.
Don't underestimate what people can discern from a report. The people that are gonna read it wanna read it, and they're gonna think about it, they're gonna analyze it thoroughly. And they're gonna say, well, what do you want to do? And once we start getting those questions, then we'll know how to put together our summary when we have and remember, he's gonna do a presentation. Everybody's
Yeah, all right, but keep in mind that Fitch does not know the history here as well.
I'm not saying,
as the people
Rob,
who-
I'm not saying that this isn't valuable. I think this is valuable. I made some changes to the words. I think it's a valuable thing to have. I think it's great to put it into perspective, and you do a little bit of a summary. Enough to get, whet people's appetite, and then they read it. And they will develop their conclusions and their analyses. And then we'll have something.
My feeling was I didn't want them to start with Fitch's report.
I got you.
Because I think that's just gonna totally boggle some people's minds. And especially not understanding the evolution of
I like the
emergency
story.
services and
I like the story. I think it's a good one.
so. Whatever you all want me
So
to
you
do.
want it in, you want it in, you want it out, you want to release the report, what do you want to do?
Exactly.
Just so we need a motion.
Here, what you want to do?
Yep. Post this first and a couple days later, post Twitch's report.
With with the suggested modifications.
I think it's valuable to include some of like the history and background and like why we're even talking about it.
Yes, I think that's good.
I don't think that. Like, that's not really covered in his report, so someone can be excellent at analyzing data and summary and like
Right.
these studies, but not know the background of why we're doing it anyway.
Right.
So I feel like the historical review and like why we're here and why we're looking at it and what the organizations are currently, I think that's valuable.
I mean, since I've been on this committee, I've had people tell me, I did not know there were two departments.
Or I didn't know they were volunteer,
I didn't
or
know
I
that.
thought they all got paid a
Exactly.
lot of money, or I thought, like, I feel like, or I didn't know one was shut down. Why is there a
Exactly.
camper outside of it? Does like, there's all kinds of questions that people just don't know.
Right.
Because how could they? So I feel like the first part of this addresses that. I just. Oh my goodness, that.
Yeah, and I think we should give people the credit that they can read through a document and get to the
Right.
executive summary. And draw conclusions from that, and then ask questions about
And
those
there's like,
conclusions.
Fitch has a conclusions page,
They
like a
do.
summary page of their own.
I don't have no problem with
That's
that.
like pretty, like a graphic, it's.
What do you want to do?
Well, I'll make a motion that we include the consultant report overview that was generated by Ralph Toulis with some final changes and amendments subject to the to these changes and post that on the website. If there is a way to do it with a solid hyperlink within this document to the report, I think that would be ideal.
So it can be done.
Because then you read through it and you click on it and then you read the report, so we know everybody will read this first.
I'm not so sure I would go with the hyperlink right off the bat though, because they may skip this.
People are gonna skip it on the one. They don't wanna read it, they'll wait a few days and, well, maybe, you're right, whatever.
Yeah.
We could do a delayed release, it really doesn't make any difference.
So I have a question, legitimate, is that a motion?
That was a motion, that we include this with amendments, and post it on the website as soon as possible.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded to include this with amendments. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. And Mike is not a voting member, so sounds like it was unanimous. So the vote was unanimous, so the town meeting.
So how long do we wait after it's published? How long do we wait to schedule the listening tour?
I don't know. A week? 5 days?
Let's have a talk, make sure.
Yeah, we're sure.
What's his schedule look like?
Yeah, no, sure, and where?
All right.
Are we gonna do it with or without him?
Well, I think he should be there for the.
One part of it.
The first one.
Well, I think it should be released to the public before it gets here.
Yes.
Yeah, bitch all the time.
No, I was
I don't know
talking
what
about-
you're talking about. I didn't know this at all, you
No,
know,
I'm talking about public
no public.
forum.
Well,
about this. Do we do it without Steve first time, or do we do it with Steve first time?
Well, it's a good question.
I think he should.
When's our next
I
town
think he
meeting?
should be here to provide, the first meeting to provide his take on the whole thing and answer any
Exactly.
top level questions. And then if we have additional ones after that, I think we could probably handle
Yeah, I
it.
think so.
He's
I mean-
required by contract to do the initial presentation.
I think that's smart. And do we have any town meetings coming up? If we had one, I would offer that we at least make a mention of it. If we're
And
gonna release-
Andy, we will probably be scheduling a town meeting soon, but this is probably not a official town meeting topic. I think you just do a forum.
I think a public forum or a public hearing or whatever you want.
Why-
Yeah,
why-
because if you do a public hearing or a town meeting, you get into expensive requirements for advertising and all this other stuff. When we're not actually asking people to vote on something, we don't need to tie up that official sort of process. We should just do a forum so people can do Q&A.
All right, I don't agree with that, but I respect your opinion. I don't see why adding something to a town meeting agenda, which you're publishing anyway. The additional cost of that one line,
Is the town meeting like based upon the school building though?
doesn't matter. I mean, a town meeting is a town meeting.
No
Wide
one's gonna
variety
talk
of
about-
topics at a town meeting.
Town meeting is, it could be just information only. For your information, you've read a report, there will be a formal presentation coming. And the conversation, it's a line item in a town meeting, and you move on.
What's the average attendance at a town meeting like, you know,
About 45 people,
425?
45.
Oh. It used to be- it used to be 25.
It's the same 45.
Yeah, I mean, if you can combine it with an existing meeting, there isn't much cost, but again, you're, it may be a time factor too. If the other topics, if Fitch is gonna sit there for an hour while we talk about other topics, that may not be the most efficient way to get this.
Oh, no, my suggestion, Mike, was that if there was gonna be a town meeting soon, before Fitch gets here, and we release these documents, it would be worth mentioning it in the town meeting and acknowledgement. Hey, folks, you've seen this on the town website. There will be a formal presentation coming from the consultant.
Is that all you're talking about?
That's all I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about a
Okay.
presentation.
Oh,
Rather than
good.
keep it, we don't wanna keep it a secret.
No, I agree with you. I think.
Get it out there and let
Yeah,
people
yeah.
know that we know that they know about it.
But have a presentation that is a separate part of,
That would not-
have it a library or something.
Exactly, that would be separate.
Everybody
All
come.
I'm saying is an acknowledgement that the
Yeah,
document
mention-
exists and questions can be asked here.
I would hope that every chair of any commission or committee would mention it as well.
You would
Their
hope so,
upcoming
but
meetings.
people don't. Talk about my experience, and if people come to a town meeting, I never heard of this, I don't know what you're talking about. I think we have to take every
The
opportunity
more publicity we can
to
get.
talk about what we're doing,
Yeah.
all the time.
All right, Andy, I'm understanding what you're saying better now. Yes,
Okay.
I think making it a line of, hey, FYI, or something to that effect.
For your information, this is happening, more to follow, but here's the contact people if you got questions.
So,
And even with that, you'll get questions at the
Of
town
course,
meeting.
that's.
so back to my initial question. How soon do we, after you release it, how soon do we schedule through, what's his name?
So does
Have a
possible.
meeting. Yeah,
Well, we'll get, okay.
let's get his availability and then,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, 30 days, I think is more than.
If he wants to get paid, maybe he'll be
Yeah.
motivated.
And then someone's gonna have,
I usually have.
so.
Usually, yeah.
The location and all that stuff too.
Cool. All right, anything else?
Quick question.
Oh, we didn't vote, sorry, thank you, keep me on track. Motion made and seconded,
And
oh, we did vote.
We did
have to
vote,
make
sorry.
a recommendation to the board of selectmen to do that, or we just?
That's a very good question.
No, you're right. We
Yeah, I
do.
think they're.
All right, I'll make a motion that we,
Cancel the first motion.
No,
We made a motion to include this, so now we're gonna say,
Yeah.
we just voted.
Did we vote?
We did
on
vote.
it?
Yeah,
we said,
Different, sorry.
yeah, sorry, so I'm
Oh,
gonna-
you keep us honest, Eileen.
I'm gonna make a
Thanks,
motion. No, I'm gonna make a motion that the chairman submit a letter to the first selectman. That the board of selectmen should review. Ralph's, the document that Ralph's introduction and our plan to release that and the final document. And as soon as possible, I'm gonna say it that way. I don't know what the resources are.
This will go on, this can go online tomorrow.
Okay, but we have to vote on it. We have to submit it to the board of selectmen.
Selectmen release it, because we're working for the board of selectmen, so shouldn't we?
Those guys, though, they don't have to do it. So,
That just,
It's like CIP.
all right, so,
I think you have to have
Yeah.
the board selected.
yeah, all right, so I made a motion that we're gonna recommend that the cover letter and report be, posted on the town website. As soon as practical, let me put it that way.
By the board of selectmen.
Well, the board of selectmen will determine whether or not it can be done, and then who actually does it. Could be anyone.
I can do it.
Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor of recommending the board of selectmen that the cover letter and report be released to the public. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, abstentions? It's unanimous. Awesome. All right. Now we move on to correspondence. Correspondence, as noted, was the documents that Mike submitted and the one that Ralph shared earlier with the cover letter. And now we have present to speak. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak? I see we have a representative from the Board of Finance here. Any thoughts, comments on what went on tonight, if I may?
Sure, I have thoughts, but I don't really have comments at
Okay,
this point.
that's fine. You don't have
It was
to.
really
Thanks.
interesting discussion.
Thanks for
It
attending.
was, I think the feedback a lot at the table and in the audience is really strong, so.
Yeah, well, he's at the table.
Yeah, I think
He
you're at the table.
he just doesn't like the.
Oh,
way I-
but you don't want to hang out with that riffraff.
Well, it usually was always full.
He's got it.
So.
Someone's got it.
No, I know it's been I know it's been a long process.
All right, well,
so
thanks for being here.
I'm eager to see the results.
Yeah, me too. And we have James Marshall. James, thank you. What would you like to comment on?
Hi, guys. Thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Hi. Yeah, just noting I'm going to speak personally as a taxpayer rather than on behalf of any boards I currently sit on. But I'm glad you guys voted to release the report. I would encourage you to get that out as quickly as possible and have faith in taxpayers that, you know, they'll digest it as they see fit. I honestly don't have much personal value in whatever summary this committee is putting forward to try to amend the front end of this report. And quite frankly, I think even doing that runs the risk of inadvertently swaying or, you know, implying or inferring some bias that you may, through imprecise wording, be trying to inform a decision one way or the other. I think we've done that on other committees as well, where we try to supplement reports with executive summaries because we feel it needs to be fine-tuned for people, and it's always better to just let people make their own decisions, in my opinion, and to get the data from the professionals directly that are sourcing it for you. And then secondarily, I just want to comment on the whole interim solution for Station 13 discussion. In an effort to be constructive, it is plainly a source of frustration as I hear the discussion for me personally, because 2 years ago, I sat on Board of Finance when some of these situations presented themselves, and a large part of the reason for both the trailer that's out there now, was the interim stopgap solution at the time to avoid spending additional taxpayer dollars on a fire sale solution. Whether or not the fact that it's been 2 years is, and I have complete concern, and I feel for the plight of the guys that are in these buildings now. But that onus is on the committee getting this work done more effectively and more efficiently. Because we are 2 years down the road and we're talking about the same situation as we were 2 years ago. We were trying to evaluate a different stopgap measure. And it's repetitive and unfortunate. And I also question, you know, I get these quotes, I get that we're going for off an MPA list, low bidders, but based on what I infer from the discussion personally, it sounds like we are once again looking at a very incomplete and partial financial picture for what any renovation project at Station 13 might look like. Construction costs are one part of the picture. Partial construction costs are only one part of the picture. Site work, furnitures, fixtures, and equipment, HVAC, again, without having further detail, and I admit I came in late, so I may have missed that, and if I'm overstepping, I apologize. But it is inherent as you try to sell this to the town, because this is going to cost taxpayer money, that you have a comprehensive picture. And the reality is anything you do as an interim measure, whether it's 5 years or 10 years at Station 13, it is going to greatly influence the way people perceive the report and a 1 or 2 station solution. And it may ultimately prove to bite the effectiveness of getting a more meaningful and more appropriate solution for the departments across the line. So I just encourage you guys to all take that into consideration. I know it's hard work. But I suspect that we're going to need that the town is going to need, and the boards that are ultimately going to have to look at these things are likely going to need a substantially greater amount of information before anything gets across the line. And I'd encourage, given our limited restraints, to not spend money on a stopgap unless it's completely avoidable. And so thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Okay,
Feels.
I don't see anybody else. Christina's on, Mike's still on, but. Well, I guess. No one else present to speak. Very good. Move on to the next conclusion. Next scheduled meeting is 12 February 2026. We do expect to hear some feedback from Chief Moore and First Selectman McCoop on their conversations regarding the CROG report. And next is adjournment. Motion to adjourn? So moved. Meeting adjourned at 8:12 PM. Stop recording.